Hey everyone, how are we? How are we? We have been joined today. There we go. They're back. We've been joined today by the lovely Jordan and Jillian from Loveleigh Loops, and we are so excited to kick off our very first Procreate event. So, welcome, guys. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having us here. So I'm Jordan.
And I'm Jillian.
Yeah, you have to remember that, people. It can get tricky. I've got it wrong on many occasions, but we are so excited to welcome you. I think you are perfect people to kick off this event. You've got such a fantastic teaching style, and I know today's session is going to be value-packed. What are you going to be sharing with everyone?
Yeah, so we're going to be sharing a really awesome project that we created. We're going to show how to create a calligraphy lettering piece with lots of flourishing and also the amazing final touch of some glittery goodness on top.
We all like glittery goodness here.
Yeah.
So just before we jump into that, I can see a bunch of design cutters out there already doing this. Just let us know where you're tuning in from. And while everyone's saying hello, we just wanted to do a shout out and say, we realize that things are very scary at the minute. We realize how many people are at home isolated. And that was a lot of the motivation behind doing this event. I think it's so important now more than ever to bring everyone together to try and, distract ourselves and learn and have a bit of fun if we can. So we are thinking of everyone out there, and we hope that this session and this entire week provides that for everyone tuning in.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, everyone that is here watching. We're so excited to have you all here and see you joining from all over the world. So welcome, everyone.
It should be a really fun session. So, and look at this, people are all over. We've got Pennsylvania, we've got Tennessee, Miami, Finland, Florida, Maryland. Actually, we have a lot of people in America tuning in. Southeast London, not too far from where I'm sat right now. Teresa as well from South Africa. We've got Madrid. Richmond, also very close to where we are right now. This is so wonderful. And also thank you everyone for joining today. We're seeing record numbers of people attending, even compared to our birthday event. So it really is testament that I think everyone right now is just, hunkered in, got a cup of coffee, and is ready to learn some incredible Procreate tips. So without further ado, Jordan and Jillian, over to you.
Awesome. Okay, so we are going to flip our camera so you can see our iPad screen, and then we will do this demonstration. So give us 1 second. Okay.
I love it. The suspense is killing me.
Okay.
So everyone at home, if you have only signed up for this this event, but you are not aware of what else is happening this week, just while Jordan and Jillian get set up, we have a ton of stuff. We have expert speakers. We have people teaching lettering, animation, illustration, everything Procreate that you could possibly hope for. It's going to be hugely value packed. I like the setup here. We're getting an insight into their rig as well.
I'm trying to flip the camera and it is having a little bit of trouble.
Don't worry. Yeah, our friend Ian Barnard, our mutual friend, he recently did a video, I think, on how to set up a homemade rig. So here we go. This is what we're looking at.
Yes. Yeah, we have this awesome stand set up so that we can see our iPad nice and clear here. So
amazing. Yeah, we are. Just before we jump in, I would say if anyone has any lag or audio or video issues, click on Get Audio Video Help just in the bottom left below this live stream. We know there are a ton of people tuned in today. So if that does cause any delays, do let us know. Jordan and Jillian, is it meant? Yeah, there we go. I think, the other way, if we can flip it, would be incredible.
Is that right?
So it's kind of sideways now. No. Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Perfect. The joys of online teaching, right?
Yeah, this is the beauty of live events. And then if we could go very slightly to the left, there we go. Thank you for the patience, everyone. That is perfect. We can see it now. Any audio and video issues, do check that setting in the bottom left. And also, because you've registered to be here, you will be able to watch the replay. We are also recording this locally. So you're going to get to see it on our YouTube in crisp, clean quality after this event.
All right, let's get started here. So this is the project that we're going to be showing you how to create. We're just going to be walking through our process for creating the lettering here with lots of flourishing, and then the final touch on top, which is this beautiful glitter. Okay, so I'm going to go create a new canvas to start this project. I'm just going to make it a screen size canvas. And we actually want it to be in this direction. So I'm just going to flip my iPad because it's going to end up being in this orientation. So for lettering, we like to use guidelines. We have some guidelines that we've created on our iPad. And let's see here. For some reason, that's not... Do you have the guidelines? Go. All right, so I'm going to do fit to screen just so it's a little bit bigger. And actually, I'm going to make it the guidelines zoomed in even. Actually, I'll make it a little smaller because I want the lettering to be a little smaller. Okay, so now this is my guideline layer. I'm going to lock it just so that I'm not writing on top of that layer. Add a new layer on top. And for now, I'm going to choose just a black color to write with. So we're going to show you some awesome brushes today. The first one is from this set, the Brush Calligraphy Procreate lettering set. I'm just going to show you a few of the brushes in here. So these are really awesome for lettering because they change with the amount of pressure that you add. So for when you're doing calligraphy on an iPad using an Apple Pencil, if you press down hard, you can get some thick strokes. And if you press lightly, you can get some thin strokes. And so these are really cool because they also have some texture built in.
That's really natural looking, actually.
Yeah, so these are really cool. So the one we're going to be using is called Vertex. And this just has some cool texture in it. So would it be better if I flip my iPad this way? Okay, so I'm actually going to do it this way just so that we can zoom in more full screen over here. So I'm going to clear that layer and add a new one. Now at this point, I'm going to make the first draft of my lettering. So we're going to be writing the quote, "You are magical." And as I go here, I'm just getting down the basic shapes of my letters. The reason that right now I'm using this brush that I'm going to end up using for the final lettering layer rather than using something like a pencil or a monoline brush is because I want the thickness to be reflected accurately. And if I used something like a monoline brush, then my spacing might not be right in the end. So I just added a new layer now for the second line, which is the word magical. The reason that I like to use lots and lots of layers when I'm lettering is because then I can move things around independently from one another. So this really helps when you're making a lettering layout.
I have to say, already this is, I think, the most calm that I felt all week, just zoning out watching you do this.
That's so great. It's, yeah, calligraphy can be very relaxing both to do and to watch. So I'm glad that you are enjoying just watching, and hopefully everyone that's watching is enjoying it as well. So
we
the
are,
benefit...
Sorry, we are getting quite a few comments about the brushes already, saying how gorgeous they are, how cool they are. Just to clarify, you can follow along at home with whatever brushes you have to hand. But if you do want the exact brushes that Jordan and Jillian are using, there is a shiny green button below this live stream. And there is actually a collection we put together of every single brush and resource used in today's live stream. And you can get it for not just 50%, but 75% off. Normally it would be 50%, but as they're a further 50% off during our Procreate week, it's now 75% off. So it's an incredible deal. And as I said, if you want to get any of the resources used today, it's that green button below this live stream.
Wow, that's amazing. 75% off. That's so cool. Yeah, so these brushes are really awesome. You can see that as I'm lettering. Maybe I'll zoom in up close and show you just one letter a little closer, the letter A. Really cool because it gets the thicks and the thins and some texture in there. So now I'm going to zoom out just so I can see my whole screen and move some things around. So a trick to move 2 layers at the same time is to have the first one selected, then swipe on the next one, and now they're temporarily grouped together. And I'm just going to move it down because I know that my lettering is going to end up towards the bottom 2/3 or so of the screen. I can also reposition so things are laid out how I want them. So at this point, now I'm going to add another layer to start doing some flourishing. So flourishing is basically just adding embellishments to the letters. And you can see I just added a flourish on the Y. It's taking the letter and extending it and creating this beautiful shape that just adds some decoration. So normally I go through lots of drafts for flourishing layouts, but I've kind of planned this one ahead of time just for the sake of time. So normally I would test out different shapes here and see what works well with the layout and try different ways of flourishing these letters. So now I'm adding another layer to make the flourishes for my bottom word, magical. This is really fun to do. So if you have ever tried flourishing on an iPad, you might know that there's a few different ways of doing it. You could see when I just did that flourish, I was moving my whole hand across the page because I'm kind of zoomed out. If you are at a different scale, you might do it a little differently. Like if you're really zoomed in like this, you can move your whole hand across the screen. Or if I was zoomed out really far, I would keep my hand planted on the screen and just move my fingers.
Beautiful. So do you always zoom in and out quite often? I'm kind of noticing that in how you work.
Yeah. So I do like to zoom in and zoom out just to get the bigger picture, but then also some of the smaller details. So for that flourish, I just wrapped around and then turned it into the dot of the eye. So I kind of like having that little dot on the end of the flourish there. I'm going to add it on some of the other ones too. Okay, so right now what I'm doing is creating my draft. It doesn't look great in some areas because there are overlapping pieces, but we're going to do the next step now, which is creating the final lettering. So I'm grouping all of these layers together. They're separate in case I wanted to move something around, but I'm going to group them together. I always like to keep a backup version in case I want to rearrange my layout at the end. So I'm going to duplicate that group.
Guys, do you mind going very slightly slower? I know we've got a couple of community members who are like trying to follow along.
Yeah.
Thanks so
much. Yeah,
of
course. Yeah. So just to explain again what I'm doing here. So all of my lettering right now is on different layers for the purpose of being able to move things around if I want and reposition. That's why we're using different layers here. But the next step is going to be making a final copy of this and doing it all on one layer. You'll see why that why we're doing these steps in a minute. So what I just did was I grouped all of the layers that I already had created by selecting them all and then hitting group. And then I just duplicated the group and kept it back up. That's just a personal preference. That's not something you have to do because the next step is to flatten the group, which means merging all of the layers together. So instead of being able to move different pieces separately from each other, when you merge or flatten a group, there's 2 ways of doing it. You can either tap on the group name and choose flatten, or the fun way is to pinch all of the layers together like that. Now, everything is together on one layer and you can't move things separately from each other. So next, what I'm going to do now is decrease the opacity of this layer. And to decrease opacity just makes it more transparent. You access that slider by tapping on the N of the layer and moving it down to make it transparent so I can trace over it. So a tip for lettering layouts, if you are making a draft and then you're going to do your final copy on top of that, it's always best to make any final adjustments, such as if you want to resize, make it bigger or smaller, or move things around before you do the final copy. Because if you do resize it, just to show you, like if I make this really big, it kind of starts to become fuzzy around the edges. So you don't want to resize it after you've done your final copy.
Perfect. And this is something we've seen on every Procreate live session that we've done in the past. People always lay out their rough text they always drop the opacity and then they always trace over. So it seems to be, the go-to workflow, really.
Yes, absolutely. And you can see why it's beneficial, because now all I have to do is trace over and I don't really have to think about it as much. So when I'm tracing over the final copy, I can also move things as I'm going. Moving something doesn't cause it to become blurry, but resizing it does.
Mm-hmm.
So here, I'm probably going to be using undo. I usually keep my left hand here available in case I want to quickly undo a shape. I find it much easier to just hit undo and then start over with whatever shape I was making so that I can make it right, rather than trying to go back and erase part of it and then fit it back together. It's just easier for me to undo, try again, and make that shape. So normally I would go pretty slowly when doing lettering, but I'm just going to try to quickly trace our draft onto the final layer.
I love it. You're just showing off now.
I have done a lot of practice with flourishing, so I'm actually going to move this up because I can see that it's starting to run into what's under it. So flourishing is lots and lots of fun, but I think sometimes it looks easier than it actually is. So don't be overwhelmed if you've never tried it before. It does take some practice, but the benefit of doing this on an iPad is because you can have, first of all, the undo feature, and second of all, Streamline, which helps smooth out your curves. So when I make this flourish, you can kind of see that it's going to almost self-correct the line, especially when I go faster, and it just makes the curve even smoother, which is really helpful.
And if you turn that off, it can look quite drastically different.
Exactly. Yeah. If you turn it off, it can look like you just had 4 cups of coffee. Okay. And then for this L, what I like to do is make the base of the L first, then go back in and add this big flourish right into the eye. All right. So that is our lettering. The whole time I was hoping I was doing it on the new layer, because now I can hide all the layers below it and we're just left with our final lettering layer.
Incredible.
So I'm going to pass it back to Jillian now. All right, guys, this looks so beautiful. So I am taking over now to show you how to add some glitter and some really pretty effects. So a lot of times when people start with Procreate lettering or calligraphy, they just do their lettering and it looks something like this, but you can really take it to the next level by adding background textures and glitter and other final touches on top. So I am going to actually start off by, I'm going to hide this lettering layer for now. We'll bring it back later. And I'm going to show you some really easy ways that you can add some background texture and color to your piece. So this is a pack of background textures, and it's actually really nice. It's split up by iPad size. So we have the 10.5 inch, and there's tons of different options in here that are really easy. You can just use these as the background of your piece. So these are some watercolor options. There's even like paper textures, which is really cool. You can make it almost look like you created the piece on paper. I'm going to use this black one. So a really easy way to insert this image into Procreate is by tapping and holding on it and choosing copy. And then you can return to Procreate, take 3 fingers and swipe down and choose paste, and it will paste it in for you. So I'm actually going to undo that and turn my canvas, then paste it in again so that it fills the whole screen. Okay. So I want to show you these really pretty glitter brushes because they make a huge difference in what the piece looks like. So this is called the Shimmer Set, and there's tons of awesome brushes in here. Let's just look at, there's one called Glitter. Oh, and the cool thing about this set too is that it comes with a color palette, because, so like right now I'm choosing this color. It looks like a really dark brown, which you might not expect to look like glitter, but when you write with it, because of the properties of the brush, yeah, look at that. It's amazing. So like the harder you press on it or the more times you go over it, it's going to get brighter and brighter because of the blend modes.
It's kind of more iridescent, isn't it?
Yeah, it just looks so beautiful. And here's just some of the different tones that you can get. There's even like rose gold and silvers, so it looks really pretty. So that's the glitter brush. There's a couple more that I wanted to show you just because, I mean, you could play around with these for hours and just have fun making glitter. This one's cool. It's like little pieces of glitter.
Like specks.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And then one of my favorites is actually this one. It's called Glow. And this one would be good for lettering because it has some of those thick and thin properties and it just looks really neat. I also love the one called Sequins. There's just in here.
I can tell that you've geeked out over this pack a bit.
Yeah.
I haven't actually used this particular one myself, but I've seen you guys use it. I think it is immediately one of my favorites because I feel like whatever you touch just becomes magical.
Yeah, whatever you touch turns to gold.
The Midas touch going on here.
I'm going to actually, just to make this pop a little bit more, I'm going to take this background texture that I inserted, I'm just going to adjust it a little bit. So with that layer selected, I'm going to my image adjustments, hue, saturation, and brightness. And then I'm going to turn the brightness down a little bit to about 44% just to make it pop a little bit. And then saturation, if I were to turn this all the way up, I'm not sure how well you guys can see it, but it actually has like a little bit of a greenish tint, which I don't love. I'm just going to bring the saturation down pretty far. So that just, one thing I like to do too is do like undo and redo just to see what the sort of like the before and after of the effect was.
Love it. And we've got a few people in the comments asking about these brushes. Again, it's the green button below this live stream. You can get all of the resources from today's lesson for 75% off, which is absolutely huge.
Yes. I love these brushes. They're so much fun if you couldn't tell. Okay. So I've brought the lettering layer back. You might not be able to see it super well because it's black on top of this dark texture, but we are about to change that to make this look like the letters are written with glitter. So I'm going to choose this sort of medium brown color and the glitter brush from the shimmer set. So first things first, this is going to look a little strange. I'm just going to color over everywhere that the lettering exists on this page. And if you guys know what a clipping mask is, then you know that that's going to be my next step. But right now, I just want to make sure that I have a layer of glitter. It kind of looks like you just spilled some glitter on the screen. I love it.
Someone in the comments said it's glitter, but without the mess.
Oh,
I don't know about you
exactly.
guys. You remember art class at school where your hands just were covered in it?
Yes, or even like the chalk brushes. Okay, sorry, I should have probably said exactly what I was doing here. Yeah, glitter and chalk are so much easier digital. Okay, so right now I have this layer of glitter and I'm going to tap the layer and choose clipping mask. And what this does is it makes it so that basically the layer that it's above or the layer that it's clipping to is defining the boundaries of where the glitter can exist. So the glitter is only going to show up on top of the pixels where the lettering is, and that makes it look like our letters are made of glitter. So you can actually, you can move this texture layer around separately from the letters, or if you wanted to reposition the letters, you can also do that. And they will remain separate. So this is just a really easy way to make your letters look like they are solid gold and glittery. Okay, let's make some more glitter at the top. Okay. Oh, actually, you know what? Another thing we can do to make this pop even more is make a shadow on the letters. So this is my lettering layer. And even though we have the glitter on top, the letters is still black. So I'm going to duplicate this layer by sliding this layer to the left and choosing duplicate. So I have 2 copies of this black lettering, and the bottom one, I'm going to select it and move it down and to the right a little bit. And you'll see that it looks like there's a little shadow. Yeah.
It's fancy.
Yeah, it's so easy though. You just duplicate the layer and move it. Also, I just wanted to clarify because I have seen some questions about moving. If you select your layer, you just tap that arrow to select it. You can move things either by putting your pencil inside of the shape and moving it around. You can also have your pencil, hold on, let me zoom out for a second. Pencil outside of the shape on your canvas, and it can still move even if you're not in the shape. That's helpful when you have a really small shape you're trying to move. You can also, if you just want to move it a little bit, you can nudge it by tapping your pencil on the screen in the direction you want it to move, and this will just nudge it slightly so that you don't have to try to move it like a very tiny amount. So hopefully that's helpful for anyone who's had trouble moving things. Okay.
Yeah, super helpful.
And then one last thing we can do to this shadow is blur it slightly. So I'm just going to go to image adjustments, Gaussian blur, and drag it to the right a little bit. This will be more obvious on your own screen if you're making shadows. It just makes it a little bit softer and more realistic. Yeah. So just to reiterate, that was image adjustments, Gaussian blur, and then sliding my pencil to the right will increase the blur. If you increase it too much, it just kind of gets rid of the entire shadow. So usually around 2 or 3% is good. Okay, this is looking really pretty already, but we're going to add some more. So at the very top, I'm going to add a new layer, and let's play with that glitter flex brush right here, this one. And I'm going to use the same color, and just at the top, I want it to look like it's sort of raining glitter. So the more you go over a spot with these brushes, the more you color over it, then the brighter it will get. So I kind of want it to be brighter at the top and then get a little bit less bright as we go down.
And you're just doing that with pressure?
Exactly. Yeah. Pressing harder and going over the same area more than once will get it brighter and brighter, which is so cool the way that these brushes are built.
I feel like I need to give you a call before my birthday in May. This is a very, very pretty invitation material, I think.
Yes, it is. Okay, let's add some more. I'm going to use another brush that is loose glitter. Let's see, there's so many brushes in here. Here we go, loose glitter. And then I'm going to change the color to this brighter one. Jordan was telling me what color I need. There we go. Okay. So this one just adds like a huge pop of really bright glitter. And again, the more you go over it, the brighter it's going to get. So I just want it to be sort of very slightly at the top. I'm actually going to move that up a little bit, which is why I did that on a separate layer. Okay. So I want to show you these glow brushes again, incorporated into the letters because they're so much fun. So I was kind of showing off this brush before, but it is called Glow, and it's another brush in this set. And let's use a different color here. So this is really fun to do if you have, it doesn't have to even be on a flourished piece, but any kind of lettering that you've done, you can add some extra sort of pops of glitter around it by just sort of tracing the edge, just like around in a few spots around the whole piece, just to add like a little extra something.
That's very cool.
I just like
it makes it feel more dynamic.
It does. Yeah. It just like if you look at it before and after, we show you with and without, it just sort of, yeah, it makes it more dynamic. That's a good way to put it. Okay. So you could stop here. I want to show you one more little trick that is a lot of fun. So if you decide that you want to change the hue or the color of your glitter after you've done all this work, you don't have to start over. One way you could do it is by using some blend modes. So first of all, just to show you, has anyone used the color harmony tool in Procreate? It's really neat. It gives you, like right now I'm going to use complementary colors. So also another trick, you can tap and hold on an area inside of your piece to eyedrop a color. And as you move your finger around, you'll see it picking different colors in that top half of the circle. So I want to pick one of these sort of yellowish areas of the piece just by holding my finger. Okay, and then I'm going to go to my color harmony tool, and here at the top, mine says complementary, yours might say something, one of these other options. I'm going to choose complementary, which if you remember the color wheel, that's the opposite side of it. So it's going to give me this blue color. And then this might look really weird at first, but I promise it will make sense. I've created a new layer at the very top of my piece, and I'm going to fill this layer. There's two ways you can fill a layer. You can tap on it and choose fill layer, or you can take this color circle in the top right and drag it in, let go, and it will fill the layer. So to actually make this look good, I'm going to open up my blend modes by tapping on the little N inside of the layer panel, and then scroll all the way down towards the bottom. There's one called Hue. So now it's taking the gold glitter that we've created and turning it blue on any layers that are below my color blend mode. So if you wanted to, you could even change just certain parts of your piece. So right now I just made just the letters blue because it turned into a clipping mask, or I'm going to go a little bit quicker here. You can move your lettering layers above the blue. So I'm grouping all of my letter layers and moving them above the blue just to sort of show you some of the possibilities. There's a lot you can do with color blend modes, but I just think that this could look really neat to change the color of some of the glitter, and then it makes the lettering pop even more.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of people feeling the rose gold as well.
Oh,
yeah, could go really well.
Oh, I love that. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this would look so pretty. Yeah, and you can even change the background color. I mean, those of you who know Procreate know that there's like, you can spend hours and hours and hours just making adjustments, and now is just like the perfect time to do that, to just play around. Okay. Actually, here's another little trick too. I know this is probably the last thing I'll show you, and then if there's any questions about Procreate that people in the audience have, we can certainly answer those. But there's like a popular style of lettering that looks like the letters are dipped in glitter. So to do this, so just to sort of recap what I have going on here, I have my lettering layer. In fact, I'm going to hide everything besides this. So a trick for hiding all of your layers except one is to tap and hold on the checkbox of the layer that you want to show, and then it's the only one that will appear. Okay, so I'm going to bring back the gold also, and then let's just go ahead and bring back the background too. So basically I've just gotten rid of all of that extra glitter around the edges. So to make a glitter dip letter effect, I'm first going to choose a color. Let's use that blue we were using before. And on a new layer above the glitter layer, let's take I'm going to use an airbrush for this. So the airbrushing set is built into Procreate. So let's just use soft airbrush. And I'm just going to make my brush fairly large here and go over like the top half of these letters. Just color over it with blue. Don't worry, this will look better once we apply the clipping mask. And then same thing for the word magical. I'm just going to go over the top of the word and keep the bottom of it clear. Okay, and then we can apply a clipping mask to this layer as well. So tap on the layer and choose clipping mask. And there we go. The blue is now clipped to the same lettering layer as the gold. So it kind of looks like our letters are blue, and then we've just dipped them in glue and then dipped them in some glitter. You can even change the hue by going to your image adjustments and hue, saturation, brightness. I love this part. Just like, yeah, we can drag the brightness up.
I was going to say, I bet you could do like a bevel type effect if it was slightly lighter or darker.
Yeah. I just love all of this is like one thing that people love about Procreate compared to hand lettering on paper is just that after you do something, you can experiment with all of the different aspects of it, the color, the brightness, everything. So I like the pink look. I think I'll stick with that. And then we can bring back some of these other layers here. So that's another possibility for you. Okay. Are there any questions, Jordan?
Yeah, it looks like there's a few questions.
Someone's asking what pencil.
There is. I think there's one that might be good to show on iPad, and then we could do the rest face to face, perhaps.
Perfect.
That suits you guys. So someone was asking how to find the kind of smoothing effect that you demonstrated with your lines. Streamline.
Oh, Streamline.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So Streamline is if you go into your brush library and then pick the brush that you want to adjust the streamline on. I'm just going to go into calligraphy and monoline because everyone should have that on theirs. So calligraphy, monoline. So you tap into the brush to actually open up the brush settings. And this is the new redesigned Brush Studio. So over here on the left are a ton of different menu options. Stroke path is the first one. So you want to click on stroke path, and then streamline is right here. It's the second one down. You can slide this up and down. And the cool thing too over here is you can test the brush. And then as you make changes to the settings, it'll show you. So if I had drawn the line the same way, you can see how much smoother the curves are. So we usually like to put streamline around. I mean, if we really want it to help us out, you can put it as high as like 80%. Sometimes putting it too high just makes it even more difficult because you can't really predict the way that it's going to correct the lines. I also wanted to note that if you want to sort of use like your regular handwriting with a brush, then if you use Streamline, it's going to sort of mess it up. So I would put Streamline closer to 0. But anyway, if you are trying to smooth out your line, I would recommend putting Streamline around, I don't know, 70 to 80% and play around with it, see what feels good to you.
Perfect Streamline tutorial. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was absolutely amazing. So I would love if we could come back face to face, and everyone in the comments before we jump into Q&A, let's give it up for Jordan and Jillian, because that was so good. Well done, guys.
Okay.
But yeah, let's show some love in the comments, because that was such a helpful session.
There we go.
Hey,
we're
welcome
back
back.
now. Awesome.
That was a pretty smooth transition, actually.
All right. Hey, guys. Thank you so much for watching.
Hello.
This was so fun.
It was a ton of fun. Thank you so much for both demonstrating that. Such a cool outcome. I just want to go play with glitter now, to be honest.
I know.
Yeah, so much fun.
That was great. So we do have a few questions, and we have about 10 minutes remaining of this session. So if you've got a question, pop it in the Ask a Question feature just below this live stream. But look at all the kind words.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you, everyone.
thank you
Thanks
all.
so much. Thanks for being here.
So a few people asking if it's going to be recorded. Absolutely. You'll be able to watch the full replay right here because you registered for the session, but there will be a edited version on our YouTube that's going to be even higher quality from the local video that we've recorded. And also shout out to Libby, who said, I'm in the land of Oz and it's 2 a.m. here. So I think we do have a few people tuning in very early on, and we appreciate all of you. There's been quite a few questions about the brushes that we showed as well. So again, the shiny green button below this live stream is a handy page that we've set up where you can grab all the brushes and resources from this live demonstration. Normally, they would be 50% off because exclusively at Design Cuts, when you buy more and add more to your cart, you actually save more. The only place where that happens. So normally it would be a 50% saving. We have an additional 50% on that for our Procreate event. So now is the time if you want to grab these brushes. They're incredible value. We have quite a few people talking about the pencil grip as well.
Oh.
That was getting some interest, if we could see that.
Yeah, I love this pencil grip. When I first started, I can't remember the name of it, but when I first started using my Apple Pencil, I had a ton of pain in my hand, and it's just like really awkward to hold because the pencil is so slippery. So this grip is awesome because it just makes it a little bit fatter and it's easier to hold. So I will look at
And it's kind of squishy, so
Yeah.
it kind of like makes it so your hand doesn't hurt after using it.
Yeah. The only thing is if you have the second generation, the pencil that charges on the side of your iPad, then you probably would have to take this off in order to charge it.
Got ya. It looks very comfortable though.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Are you right or left-handed?
We're both right-handed.
Okay, cool. I'm a lefty here.
Mm.
Okay, Stephanie, I think, asked about, where is Stephanie's question gone? Oh yeah, okay. So Stephanie asked, would this be applicable to Illustrator or Photoshop? She's not familiar with Procreate. Am I correct in thinking, guys, you obviously couldn't use all of the same tools and techniques, but the actual lettering itself, the clipping masks, the layout, the application of glitter, you could do using separate brushes for those platforms and perhaps something like a Wacom tablet instead of Procreate on iPad?
Yeah. Or you could even write it with a pen and scan it in and remove the background and make it vectorized even to make your lettering digital.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
And
yeah,
absolutely. The glitter would apply too.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes complete sense. I'm going through a lot of love on the grip on the pencil. So Marsha has Ian Barnard's Grid Builder. That's absolutely something that you could combine with the lettering shown in this live session. And if you do add that to your cart, that is also part of our event. So you can definitely save on that being your whole bundled purchase. Is there an airbrush effect on this program? Lorraine asks within Procreate.
Yeah, so there is a brush. If you look inside of your brush library, there's a ton of categories. There's calligraphy, drawing, sketching. There's one called airbrushing, and that one has, I think there's 6 brushes inside. So definitely check that out and see which one of those airbrushes looks best to you. And a lot of it, if you have an Apple Pencil or a pressure sensitive stylus, then it does kind of feel like airbrush, because if you press harder, then it's going to give you like more paint, and if you press lighter, it'll be more transparent. So it's so amazing how this technology works and how it can feel so real, even though it's digital.
And it gets better and better every update.
Oh yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, now you can have color changing brushes with the new Procreate update. So many fun things you can do.
That's awesome. And finally, this isn't a question, but I wanted to shout out Nicole, who said, I just wanted to support my 2 favorite teachers ever. Great job as always. And again, I'd like to echo that from myself and the whole team and everyone tuned in live.
Oh, thank you so much. This was so fun. And I just wanted to say too that it's amazing that you guys are offering this extra discount, especially during this time, because I know there's a lot of people who are using this time to stay at home and learn new things. And Procreate is an amazing thing to learn right now. And Design Cuts definitely has the best resources for anyone interested in getting some extra things like glitter brushes or there's so many things on the site. So it's so awesome that you guys are offering this discount.
Thank you. That's very kind. And yeah, we feel like this event is just the perfect time for everyone. As we said at the start, there's so many people at home right now learning and exploring and creating. So shout out for everyone watching. We do have our next session in about 15 minutes. We can link that up in the chat. Our team can. And that is going to be Jimbo from Shoutbam. And we had quite a few people asking about some of the more basic beginner sides of lettering. They are going to be touching on some of that stuff. So it's definitely worth jumping straight over to that session. And also in general, do go and explore. We have 7 incredible speakers. Jordan and Jillian have kicked us off today with this fantastic demonstration, but we are going for the next 3 days with Procreate experts, fun sessions. There's going to be animation, more lettering, beginner, intermediate, advanced. There's going to be digital illustration. There's going to be so much Procreate goodness. It's going to be an incredible week. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And also be sure to check out, we do have a page offering all of our best-selling Procreate brushes for 50% off. And you can, of course, get a further 50% when you add various items to your cart. So definitely take advantage, check it out. And again, a huge thank you, Jordan and Jillian. You've been absolutely fantastic.
Thank you so much for having us.
We'll see you very soon, and we'd love to have you back, of course, for one of our regular weekly hangouts.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
And if we can link up Jordan and Jillian's YouTube as well, they put out a ton of excellent content all the time. There's some beginner guides and tons more tutorials as well. So definitely go follow them, go subscribe, and go support them, because they are very generous teachers in the community.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you soon. And everyone, I'll see you in about 15 minutes for the Shoutbam Basics Lettering session. I'll see you shortly. Bye.
Bye, everyone.